Welcome to the USS Pentagonal. The tensions between Israel and Iran have today ushered in a new era in the Middle East. The Tehran regime has retaliated for the Israeli airstrike on the Iranian embassy compound in the Syrian capital Damascus. According to the latest reports, more than 200 drones and more than 150 cruise missiles belonging to the Iranian military are now heading towards Israeli territory. Iran has stated that it is directly targeting Israel with these attacks and that it will carry out much more violent missile and drone attacks if the Israeli armed forces reactivate. Following the firing of Iran's IHA and cruise missiles, sirens of air defense systems were heard in northern and southern Israel, the West Bank, and Jerusalem. The news of this shock attack created a bombshell effect on the agenda. After these violent Iranian attacks on Israel became a hot topic, it was reported that the US and UK military forces in the region stepped in and intervened in the Iranian airstrikes. The UK Defense Ministry announced that it had sent RAF jets from Akrotiri to intercept Iranian drones attacking Israel. Officials claimed that Typhoon fighter jets shot down Iranian cruise missiles and drones before they reached Israeli territory. Although it was not specified exactly how many Iranian drones and cruise missiles the RAF Typhoons shot down, footage posted on social media showed that the UK Air Force's intercept attempts appeared to have saved Israel from a major disaster. Statements from the UK Ministry of Defence continued to indicate that additional air forces would continue to be deployed in the region. UK Defence Secretary Grant Shapps confirmed early Sunday morning local time that the UK has deployed additional Royal Air Force fighter jets following the Iranian attack on Israel. Grant Shapps said the RAF jets and aerial refueling tankers will support Operation Shader, the UK's current anti-ISIS operation in Iraq and Syria, and will be deployed to thwart possible Iranian airstrikes against Israel. On Saturday night, there were unconfirmed reports that the UK had joined Israel's defense with fighter jets from Cyprus. GPS data showed that 2 RAF transport planes were in the area shortly after the attack was first reported. The Ministry of Defense has confirmed that the UK has moved a large number of Royal Air Force jets to the Middle East that can intercept attacks from the air. These critical measures were a clear demonstration of the UK's support for Israel. In addition to the military support, the UK Prime Minister made important comments about the Iranian airstrike on Israel. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak condemned Iran's reckless attack and said the UK would defend Israel's security. Mr. Sunak added that Iran has once again shown that it intends to sow chaos in its own backyard, but that these attempts will not work. So, under the Iranian attacks, Israel was getting full support from the UK. Meanwhile, US F-15 fighter jets aboard the USS Eisenhower intercepted Iranian cruise missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles and eliminated these aerial targets before they reached Israel. CENTCOM officials confirmed that U.S. forces intercepted dozens of Iranian drones over Iraq and Jordan before they reached Israeli airspace. Following the success of these U.S. interception efforts, Iran immediately responded with a warm assessment. In a statement, the Revolutionary Guards said that any U.S. support and involvement that would harm Iran's interests would result in a decisive and regrettable response from the Iranian armed forces. But despite these statements, U.S. forces continue to intercept Iranian drones and cruise missiles fired at Israel. Of course, some of the Iranian drones and cruise missiles bypass the interception efforts and make their way towards Israel. CENTCOM's naval forces in the region have sounded sirens across Israel as Iranian drones, unintercepted over Jordan and Iraq, have entered Israeli airspace. But Iranian missiles and drones that break through this wall of interception are also encountering Israel's air defense systems. Videos on social media showed interceptor missiles from Israel's Iron Dome defense system being fired at the drones and lighting up the sky. Several Iranian shaded 136 drones were seen shot down in the sky. In addition, some cruise missiles launched by Iran were also neutralized by the Iron Dome air defense systems. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stressed that they are ready for any scenario, both defensive and offensive. Mr. Netanyahu urgently convened his war cabinet and announced that he had begun work on the necessary measures. This is because Iranian cruise missiles and drones are not the only threat to Israel at the moment. In the same time frame as the Iranian attacks, drones and rockets have been fired at Israel by Iranian proxy groups in Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. The Israeli army reported sirens wailing in a kibbutz near the Lebanese border. Warplanes flew low over Iraq as drones were launched to avoid radar detection. Videos shared on social media showed a loud humming sound as they passed overhead. This was probably the sound of UAVs on their way to northern Israel. Following this critical attempted airstrike, security measures have been heightened in the country. Israeli civilians were advised to follow government warnings and follow the advice of the Home Front Command. IDF spokesman Mr. Hagari announced that schools across the country and beaches near Gaza were closed in light of the security situation. Daniel Hagari added that any attempt by the IDF to intervene would jam GPS signals across the country. Meanwhile, Israeli defenses will include fighter jets and Navy ships, both equipped with anti-aircraft missiles, and Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system. While Israel continues to take extensive security measures in anticipation of an attack by Iran and Iranian proxy forces, significant efforts are being made through political channels to resolve this violent crisis. According to a U.S. official, U.S. President Joe Biden and his national security team reconvened in the Situation Room after a short break following their previous meeting. The previous meeting lasted about 2 hours. After this meeting, important decisions are expected to be taken to prevent tensions between Israel and Iran. In addition to the U.S. efforts to diffuse the hot air in the region, attempts to cool the tension were also coming from important actors in the regional geography. One of these actors was Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Foreign Ministry expressed concern about the recent military tensions in the region and their potential serious repercussions following Iranian drone and missile attacks against Israel. The Foreign Ministry reaffirmed its position, emphasizing the need for the Security Council to assume its responsibility to safeguard international peace and security, especially in this highly sensitive region for global peace and security. Furthermore, the ministry stressed the importance of preventing further aggravation of the crisis and warned of dire consequences if the situation worsens. Regional actors, as well as Spain and Portugal, called for de-escalation. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez expressed his deepest concern following the Iranian attack on Israel. Sanchez said his country was in contact with embassies in the region to serve Spaniards in the region. Portuguese Prime Minister Luis Montenegro also emphasized on Channel X that his government strongly condemns the attack. The Portuguese Prime Minister also called for restraint to avoid escalation of violence. In short, all countries of the world are making great efforts to prevent a new war in the Middle East and to prevent Iran's plans for chaos. Thank you for following us.